See you guys for the premiere tomorrow. I filmed this video about economy, jobs, disabilities, and all that in the major premiere. It could be 20 minutes long. It depends on the video length. This was filmed like when summer or spring started to happen. I remember filming that since last year. It depends on whether if I stayed in New York for too long, or maybe I should travel from one place to a city that is close nearby. Now I couldn't understand what was happening. Because of all this issue, we had somebody just to remind themselves how we managed to get in. This is a permanent disgrace to every single nation that is led up against the whole federal reunion. The propaganda which is causing to have amounts of people that were trying to disobey many obtained rules that were scattering across the nation between the early 2000s and as of this year we couldn't command any thoughts just to realize how people usually get paid if they're trying to be older enough so that they can be travel trained all by themselves. Today we have a special guest that is coming to our house. It is one of our friends gathering that was able to happen. Many people served a lot of food and handed out to many deliveries as soon as it could be a vehicle or Uber. Not many drivers can drive too quickly. They also hold a lot of money for the accountable stuff that they actually pay for. There are a lot of many circumstances which make a life cycle about having a rent-free houses and apartments that live far apart from many other states as well. The explanatory of using the account by using the banks of the money that was being disputed into one singular line, it has not been confirmed yet, although the manager said when we finish paying, everybody should start selling their own job, which is very equitable. 10 years later, when everything starts to happen, all the money will be deposited into a secret bank account. They went to a local banking area where they had to do a bunch of machine stuff and get their money back, which is really high in command because the more money we achieve throughout the bank system, the more personable money that is interchangeable for the problem of us. It is not really led into many of the issues that we're facing between all of us. We can identify and reassure many hopeful steps that were being taken upon, which about their budgeting skills. Now, when we order something from the menu, we couldn't just stand up for our prices because what if it's like $15 per serving? Then they would need to divide more than that because if they spend less money into the savings account, then you probably need to work harder in order to pay $25 each week. People usually goes to summer school a lot. However, they manage to keep their skills. However, they could. Some teachers provided a rule against the worksite team. If they try to manage a community wealth despair about the issue that we're trying to protect our agony, their lives wouldn't change for many of the manager teams and commissioners. The New York public area has been malfunctioning throughout the system, which takes up the whole electricity, which may lead into a outage where everything may need to repair for 4 months. Twice later, things has gone worse and worse. Many highs of the pollution were going crazy because of the trees that were not being healthy. It has gotten moldy, and after all that happens, it started to fall off onto the road, which makes the car feel not safe, and they wanted to turn into the opposite route that they gone through since the whole entire area that has been blocked, which is not fair for them too. Most dangerous hazard has become way too independent for all cars and buses and even trucks as well. The more things that has become over too powering, it officially has become way more too decadent. Now, many people wouldn't serve as much as they have gone through. They were meant to be having their own illness throughout the community work that they have been. We can infiltrate about how this happens and why we need to take on actions if anything that starts to feel bad or worse. You can call for help if provided. Not many buses were having a traffic delay. We can manage or sort things out about the congestion that most buses were being taken upon through. Similarly, we can get an update or probably just kept it in hope for the better, because once our lives has been put through into the heart of the symptoms that we face, the more stressful periods most students could ever have, which is leading into miscommunication. Although it is equitable to get interviewed first before we start preparing for our work. If the employee tells you what to do and what you need to follow, they inform us with the tasks that were needed to be completed. It can take as long as it could be. The paper has over 20 items that needed to be finished within 1 to 2 hours per week. It especially can hold lasting longer because of summer school, right? Many people can determine if they face an issue whether most people can have high circumstances or each role that places against the most inferior moments that were being yelled at. It is really sustainable for everybody, but we cannot lose things for the hope. What if we manage to not take responsibility for their actions. They would need to take cautious, and even though work sites were still under construction due to the amount of people that were being built at, they cannot go because some of the bricks were being led onto the floor. Workers may need to pay at least over $100 within the amount of hours they actually work at. Most jobs can handle any businesses that they would like to do. Precisely, there is nothing that most people can have between the two-phase conversation between most community services that were needed to help at, or the organization that is able to make a funded donation throughout the Disability Achievement Room. The amounts of acts and services were needed to have at least over 3 hours daily within the amount of days that we have been usually worked for. Moreover, some of these jobs may find it difficult in order to drive because of the route that they have been taking. Most of my friends take up driving lessons in order how to drive properly and what to manage based on the signs people used to read. They would not follow the incorporate signs that were being read at due to the amount of words that you can actually read was kind of big enough. If they would change up at least one direction per week, it would be a sourceable idea when everything starts to feel negotiative if the buildings was been collapsed within the amounts of data that they actually work for. Now let's talk about a little boy who was caught stealing about money. Long time ago, a pregnant woman started to notice a boy was coming out from her tummy. She then went to the hospital and the doctor said, "Honey, there's something you must do about this surgery. It could be a boy or a girl." The doctor gave them the prescription, and guess what they say? It's a boy. Within the amounts of hours they actually spent onto the bed, the baby finally comes out, and she started crying after this. Within the summary of all that, we explain how the person was trying to be angry about the people that was facing trauma against that. It is not only privileged to many of the societies that live there. With the dedication to many of our hopes and dreams that we found, it is our lives just to make things clear for us. Sadly, a lot of people has gone through this drama a lot lately. Because of the news that we've been looking forward to, it all starts to become fake. It was generated by artificial intelligence, even though we discussed all this about how we can identify what was the solution and how we can deal with the process that can lead up to more than a decade. We've been talking about this for 2 years. And the reason why I'm premiering tomorrow so that we can identify more about this. But as of right now, I'm already recording a special type video so that we can make up a full statement based on the updates and how we can communicate about the traffic jams. And most of the time when they cook, it gets harder and harder. We simply have a teacher arrive at people's houses. We went to the kitchen and start prepping all of the meals many people want to have. But sometimes they could be vegetarian, although they don't like meat. And that's okay. People can be allergic to anything. We don't want this, we don't want that. No. It is nothing but serious to have all this negotiation. Remember, when people were trying to be allergic to something, it doesn't mean they can fake a allergic reaction about the food that they ate. Let's say if there was peanuts in every single kind of food, like chocolate, milk, ice cream, all that type of desserts that they have were able to have peanuts in them. They would not feel depressed based on any food that they have in common, although they need to switch out based on the menu that they have been put into one specific dish that they really like. When they finally got the job, they will ask the customer if they have any peanuts or anything like that. If they say no, you can take it, whatever you want, unless if the people felt uncomfortable about the food that they tried, what kind of flavor they put into, and how we can handle to fix that. Not many food contains meat. Most animals can be usually found in barns. This was taking years and years for the whole entire setup to be completed. Within 1 hour of mission to be sadly been deprived, all of our missionary has been completed. Workers can spend more than a whole entire week just to build up the whole entire suspension for most animals so that they cannot escape from. If they deal with sickness for more than the animals that we've been harmed through, you can see the particles of the dirtiness based off on animal's body. You can go through a microscope. What you can see is a bunch of dirty germs was being put at. There is nothing like a bad habit towards the person that you're facing to. The outwards can be mischievous. They feel quite a lot of suspense going on. What we could do is we can try to eliminate that process by having one of the pressure scientists figure out who caused all of this problem and what we can do just to make that resolution happen. Just like in the old days, we don't want to feel stressed about anything that was being totally feel sleepless. I know it's the weekend. Some of you guys might fall into sleep for about 8 hours. I also want to know that a few years ago, when Elon Musk said spaceships was considered like a vehicle, it can take up all the way to the planet Moon. We cannot just go out by ourselves. We have a lot of astronauts that flew in and collect the heavy metal rocks that were carried within a bunch of particles that led into its shininess. Elon Musk said, SpaceX is one of the most common thing that they ever use. No matter how we feel, this planet will solve its idea. Now we can talk about the invention of something that made its own way. We can talk about everything that can put into the universe. Although the mystical part is we can identify what was the hardest misconception throughout the heavy metal that they put against into each concept. The life cycle plans to move ahead after it was being done. Within several hours or days, that takes up the whole entire month of literature. We learned this at our school. Now let's come back to getting a job. When we did a common task that we never done before, they can be new to people as well. For most students that we don't actually learn, it's okay, we can try our best. Have someone help you. You cannot struggle if any tasks were being kind of hard. It's okay. Listen to your peers and coworkers. Sometimes people could be nice or mean. We don't want to get us kicked out or not getting paid. Follow each step that we must entertain with. Some of our friends graduated school before the early times. Within the measurement of the cups of croutons that they put into each bag, we must fold it 2 times and repeat the same process until we're finished with all of it. There's a big container which fills up the whole entire line. After we complete with all this, we now then store it into the freezer so that we can make a salad out of the lettuce, tomatoes, basil, and so much more that was added into each healthy part of the food group. We call it contain that was put into its own healthiness. By the time we put sauces onto the salad, it makes it become like sweet and tangier salad with the balsamic glaze. The contract was need to be signed. Although the blue card phase, which is kind of similar to like a permission slip, although it needs to be finished by tomorrow so that we can be handed in to our teachers so that you're accepted to get paid after we finish work. We leave school at 9:30 a.m. just to get there on time. If we're late, the manager say, why did you come to work late? What was the reason or evidence that you actually not came on time? The reason why that we're late is bus traffic. It happens way often due to how much cars were being packed at. It was so scrambled, the buses could horn about 15 times. The cars wouldn't even listen. There's a way in order to get out of that mischievous car that was trying to get blocked through. We can make a right turn and just go straight ahead. That wouldn't be that wouldn't be easy if I were you. It would be simple as that. Now, if there's a car crash, the police would explain to the driver, and they started asking random questions about the person that was being as a convicted criminal. They would report it to the judge and explain about the situation, about the car crash, or even the accident that has happened since 1 year ago. It was being put into prison for about 8 years. Whenever you see a sign that says stop, that means the bus would actually pull its brake towards the feet when pushing it down at a slower position. In some cases, most transportations do actually get hurt because of that driver that was being bad at all in one consent. Most drivers are not funny. They could be rude, and somehow they might need to tell us to back off, which is very inappropriate. And the most lectured thing was causing a scene or making a fight against the road. The more arguments that was face to face against the driver and the other driver, they would lead into a arrest about the person that was being rude to. Maybe they would need to set off a confinement of $500,000 due to that property damage that most people have been. A lot of things has been changed for over a decade, which is very consecutive. $1,000 of fine would be crazy. Husbands would be upset at them due to how much car crashes they were having. It's not that simple. Students cannot drive as well. Why is the car giving gas? Well, sometimes they don't know how to drive properly, but even though they start taking out the steering wheel way too quickly when they started driving. Most summer jobs could be hard and illegal to do. Whenever they started doing something that is very not in concern, they would just take away their privilege. If they manage to fail the test immediately, that becomes a serious crime. Most people would not be too happy, are we? It is very substantial when it comes to having things that were being not against through this harmony that was being caused at. If one patient was being upset about the doctor's appointment, they would just have to make it rescheduled. Although flu shots can happen to many other people as well. Doctors can be rude too. They would not allow us to have attendance. It's very serious common, although many people can face a lot of angriness due to the needle of the syringe. You can think about the people that has been taking a lot of appointments lately. As of this year, we went through so many appointments that we could miss out on a test. Some students may need to travel more. A lot of times when people flew by, they would stay in that same place forever and ever. It's very rare and common, although not everybody is the same. We shouldn't copy each other's thoughts before we make a determination goal. One time when a person struck out that was copying each other, they would say, "Can you please stop copying me?" And then the other person would say, "Why? I didn't do anything." So they would know if they were a liar or a culprit. That means they would tell the truth if a person was making a facial expression about their reaction coming towards against you. Sometimes when people get on the plane, the flight attendants say, "Please keep the phone off and have your phone on the airplane mode," which they would not give us Wi-Fi when they're actually on the plane. Isn't that very distinguished and obnoxious? It's very rare and common when they travel on board. If they have a luggage, would they be able to stream the flight at all? It's very rare and optional if they could ask a person, like an employee for example, if they should allow us to record. If they say, "Okay, you can record a video," would you ever trust them? No, they would still not trust them even though the flight attendant may feel uncomfortable about the person that was trying to record it. A lot of security might ask a lot of questions about recording stuff, and it would not be fun if Twitch or many other social medias would start to ban a lot of people because it is very unbiased through many common serious thoughts. A lot of people were very not happy due to the distinguished guests that were being looked at. They made a serious face and said, "Well, it's a good opportunity to just move away from that person," because they kept recording all the time. Maybe we shouldn't judge based on how we feel. What our people can really determine what us to do and what us not to get hated on at. I hope you guys had an enjoyable time. We still have 8 more days until the whole entire FIFA World Cup game is ended. It's been a long week, haven't it? My friend is still taking driving license. Well, typically, driving lessons wasn't that fun. But even though one day, when I graduate, I would still be able to focus on my driving skills. I already went to the DMV and they started approving my ID and all that stuff, which is very good for me. And I don't want to lose my privileges based on that car I was driving. But no, it has been sent through my brother. When will my brother travel? Possibly next year. Whenever we buy a home for him, which is good too. And I agree, most of the time we ever rent an apartment, they would spend the rest of their lives with their girlfriend. Was, I believe sometimes we should have thought about it, maybe sooner or later. When do you start having a girlfriend? Well, typically for me, I don't even have one. I'm still single for about 6 years. That is crazy. If we are engaged by the time I turn 23 or older, that still would be possible. Having a daily wedding would be kind of serious. They cannot live stream it, unfortunately. A whole gathering of the seatings that they put can be led over 1,000 people, which is insane. And I still wish the venue would be quite similar than it used to be. Outside was really kind of summery. It gave us that hot weather vibes. When weathers change, you might feel the difference between the cold. Most contaminated weather would be even obvious if they would try to make it hard for them too. How's my brother doing? Well, he's still talking with my dad and all that stuff too. What was the car's name that got nude? I think it was the Lexus car. Yeah, I believe sometimes this house may need more decorations since we did like a PO box. I hope the FedEx or UPS would start handing out more deliveries that is coming to our house. It usually arrives like 5:30 p.m. ish. Normally it would be in the morning time or afternoon time. It just doesn't matter how much boxes they need to carry with and all that. They need to work daily and most of it's on time, but it's their job. Who would have considered that most of the packages would be sent out if they don't have a label? Like, it's furious and they would personally get fired. They don't know what address they live in. So it's really accommodating as well. Alright guys, this is my video. I'm ending it here. Wow, what a 20-minute video. I'll see you guys for the premiere.